The International Federation of the Phonographic Industry has announced that K-pop boy group Seventeen's 10th EP, FML, is the winner of the IFPI Global Album Award for being the biggest selling album worldwide last year.
K-pop 그룹 세븐틴의 10번째 미니앨범 FML이 지난해 전세계에서 가장 많이 팔린 앨범으로 기록돼 국제음반산업협회의 2023 글로벌 앨범 차트 1위에 올랐다고 협회 측이 발표했습니다. Okay, tell us more.
Well, this award is calculated according to an album's worldwide sales, and this is across streaming, downloading, and physical music formats, so CDs or vinyls even,
Yep.
in one calendar year. So this album was actually released in April of 2023, and it was the most pre-ordered in K-pop history, debuted at number 1 here in Korea. It also reached number 1 in Japan, and it reached the top 5 in France and the US.
Impressive. 그래요. 이제 그 FML이라는 EP가 이런 기록을 했다라는 겁니다. EP is our first expression.
All right, it stands for extended play. And this is what's a little bit confusing because I looked it up. There's 6 tracks on this. So that's normal for an EP. So an EP usually has, up to 8 tracks or songs and a playing time of about 15 to 30 minutes. But it's technically not an album. An album has more than that, an album or an LP, which is long play. So the fact that it's given the Global Album Award is a little bit confusing, actually, to be honest.
I got it. EP라는 게 이제 원래는 Extended Play의 약자다. 근데 이제 쉽게 말하면 미니 앨범이라고 해석을 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 그다음에 the biggest selling album.
You could also say the best-selling album of the year.
Yeah.
The articles that I read used it interchangeably as well, especially with the song of the year, which was Miley Cyrus's song, one of her songs. So it just biggest selling, the most purchased.
Yeah. 가장 많이 팔린이란 뜻이죠. Here's the headline again. The International Federation of the Phonographic Industry has announced that K-pop boy group Seventeen's 10th EP, FML, is the winner of the IFPI Global Album Award for being the best-selling album worldwide last year. Let's move on to the next headline.
Freddie Mercury's London mansion, which the Queen legend bought in 1980 and owned until his death in 1991, has gone up for sale for a cool $38 million, or about 50 billion won.
그룹 퀸의 전설적 보컬리스트 프레디 머큐리가 1980년에 구입해 1991년 사망할 때까지 소유했던 런던 자택이 거금 3,800만 달러, 우리 돈으로 약 500억 원의 매물로 나왔습니다. Okay, so tell us about this.
Right, so this property is in West London, and rumor has it that Freddie Mercury bought it on the spot when he first visited it. So if you buy something on the spot, you go in, you have a look around, and he must have just been so enamored with it, he's like, I'll take it.
On the spot, 그 자리에서. Wow.
And apparently, not anymore, but at one time, this home was where he had the grand piano that he composed Bohemian Rhapsody on.
No way.
So he probably wrote that song
Yeah.
in this mansion. So that would be a cool thing if you had this much money on you and you bought this place.
Yeah, very cool indeed.
He lived there for 11 years too, and he worked with very specialist interior designers to really create this look, and he called it a country house in central London.
Right. 도심에 있지만 그래도 내부는 약간 시골 느낌이 나는 A Country House in Central London 이런 컨셉으로 인테리어 디자인을 했었군요. 그때 당시에. 자, 이 집을 이제 mansion이라고 표현을 했는데 우리가 생각하는 맨션이랑 좀 다를 수 있습니다. What is a mansion in English?
A huge, very, very expensive home.
Which is a little bit different to what Koreans might think of when they think of mansion.
Yeah, sure.
Because
Same with villa. When you
with
say villa here
yeah,
too, right?
Yeah, exactly. 우리는 사실 맨션이나 빌라라고 이름을 붙이는 그런 이제 다세대 주택들이 있잖아요. 근데 외국에서는 보통 mansion, villa 그러면은 대저택입니다.
Yeah, villas are usually in Europe. like, a Spanish villa,
right.
and they're on a huge property.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
mansions, or I guess that would probably be more of a North American term.
Okay.
A really huge
Yeah.
house. Like if you ever saw Cribs, that MTV show where they would go into a famous like rapper's house
Oh, okay.
and they would show it all around. That was their mansion.
Oh, interesting. I haven't seen that one, but
Okay. Yeah, it was big in the early 2000s.
yeah, I think of Batman.
Yeah, sure.
He lived in a
In a
huge mansion.
Right.
Yeah, and then the Prince of Bel-Air
Yes.
lived in a sort of mansion type house in, is it LA? I don't
Yeah,
know.
Bel Air, yeah.
But in Bel Air, in
Yeah,
LA,
yeah.
yeah. There you go.
Wow,
Right.
we're finally connecting on references from the 90s.
Yes. 자, 이렇게 대저택을 말한다. mansion. 그래서 Freddie Mercury의 런던 대저택을 말하고요. And it's gone up for sale for a cool $38 million.
Now, this is kind of a slang term, and
Yeah.
you say a cool and then an amount of money, like a cool million, a cool $1 billion. It's just a way to emphasize that it's a
Yeah.
large amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So
might
he's a-
you might make a joke and say like, maybe if you made a little bet or something, or you won a card game. Ooh, I won a cool man won. Like you might say it like that to
okay.
be sarcastic, to make a joke, but normally it's used for large amounts of money just to emphasize it.
네, 이거 뭐 거금 얼마 이런 느낌으로 굉장히 캐주얼하게 쓸 수 있는 표현입니다. 자, 그럼 다시 한번 읽어볼게요. Freddie Mercury's London mansion, which the Queen legend bought in 1980 and owned until his death in 1991, has gone up for sale for a cool $38 million, or about 50 billion won. Here's our final headline.
France has reintroduced school uniforms in one town as part of a government pilot scheme to establish whether they can reduce inequality and improve behavior.
프랑스는 차별 예방 및 학생 행동 개선 효과를 확인하기 위한 정부의 시범 조치 중 하나로 일부 학교에서 교복 착용을 다시 도입했습니다. Wearing uniforms. Tell us about this.
Yeah, they haven't had to do that in state schools in France since 1968, but now they're deciding they're going to see if it's something that they want to roll out across the country. So this was in a small southern town of Béziers, maybe is how you pronounce it. So only 4 schools took part in this one, so this affected about 700 students. They were the first to introduce this. The government has said that if they find that it's successful, they may decide to roll this out nationwide. The French education minister has said about 92 schools are interested in joining up with this, signing up for this experiment.
Right.
Now, the cost of each uniform, which is about 200 euros, is going to be shared by the city and the local education authority.
Got it.
Now, critics, including many parents, are saying this money would be better spent in other areas of public education.
So some are for it, some are against it.
Right.
네, 찬반 양론이 펼쳐지고 있네요. 교복을 입는 것이 어떻게 보면은 이제 equality. 아이들이 굉장히 평등하게 뭐 옷을 내가 잘 입었냐 못 입었냐 뭐 비싼 옷을 입었냐 이런 게 없어지니까 그런 평등의 문제에 있어서 좋다라는 입장도 있지만 또 한편으로는 이제 이 교복을 구입하는 데 있어서 시에서 그리고 교육청에서도 지원을 해준다고 하는데 거기에 돈을 쓰는 것보다는 차라리 다른 좀 더 교육적인 데에다 돈을 쓰는 게 낫지 않겠느냐 이런 반대 입장도 있답니다. And when we say state schools, we're talking about public schools.
Right.
In the UK, this term is
I
so
know.
confusing.
Very.
Yeah. In Canada, I guess public school just means public school.
Where I went to, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
private school is what you pay for.
Right.
But in England, when they say public school, they mean private school.
Exactly.
I don't know. I have no idea why.
Did you get that, 여러분? 네, 이게 좀 헷갈려요. 뭐냐면은 국립학교나 공립학교는 영국에서 또 지금 프랑스 관련된 이 기사에서도 state school이라고 합니다. 사립학교를 영국에서는요 public school이라고 해요. 이것 때문에 좀 헷갈리는데 북미권에서는 공립학교를 public school이라고 하고 사립학교를 private school이라고 하죠. 참고로만 알아두시면 되겠고 다시 돌아오겠습니다. Here's our first expression, a pilot scheme.
So if you've heard of TV pilots.
Yeah.
So that's when a show is going, they want to make a show, so they make one episode, show it to people, and see if people enjoy it. So
Yeah.
a pilot in this case means to test, an
That's
experiment.
right.
Scheme just means a program. You can think of it that way. So it's a test program. So it's used to see if an idea is good or successful before deciding on whether you want to introduce it on a larger scale, or in the case of TV shows, if you want to make more episodes.
Absolutely. 네. 시범 프로그램이라는 뜻이 있어요. pilot scheme이라는 게. 그래서 한번 일단 해본다는 거죠. 그래서 TV 드라마 같은 경우에도 이제 프렌즈도 그랬고요. 처음에 파일럿으로 이제 한 회분 정도를 먼저 내보냅니다. 거기서 사람들이 어떻게 반응을 하는지 보고 앞으로 계속 제작을 할지 말지 결정을 하게 된다고 해요.
And sometimes if you see a pilot
Yeah.
long after a show's been successful, it's different. Like the characters
Yeah.
are slightly different. So
Right.
they use that.
They modify things, don't
Right,
they?
because they have
Yeah.
a test audience, and then okay, I don't like this part of this character, or I hate this guy, and then
Right.
that character is not even in the show.
Sure.
It's interesting when you see that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about inequality?
Well, if something is, you can see the word equal in there. So inequality when things aren't equal. And usually we're talking about social status or money, wealth, even just opportunities. We talk about social inequality, meaning some people or some groups don't have, it's not equal compared to other groups or other people.
inequality라는 것은 불평등이라는 뜻이죠. 이것을 좀 없애자는 차원에서 교복을 다시 도입을 할까 이렇게 고민을 하고 있답니다. 다시 한번 읽어볼게요. France has reintroduced school uniforms in one town as part of a government pilot scheme to establish whether they can reduce inequality and improve behavior. Well, that's it for the headlines.